Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and start. All right, so we are gonna answer all the questions and then some. So I'm gonna try to go over the order of this in kind of the order that you should be approaching your nutrition. Oh shoot, I gotta face this way. All right, so the basics of nutrition and lifestyle, basically. Hey. So nutrition, sleep, hydration, exercise. Okay, those are the 4 basics of a healthy lifestyle. When you break them down like that, it sounds pretty easy, but it can really get complicated if you don't have all the systems in place to set yourself up for success. So if you have the nutrition, but you're getting 4 hours of sleep every night, you're not going to see the results of your nutrition. Does that make sense? Or if you have the exercise in place, but you're not eating right, you're not going to see the results of your exercise. Like if you're not hydrating, but you're eating right and you're not sleeping right, it's like 4 pieces of the puzzle. So the goal is to have kind of all those systems in place eventually, not all at once. So if you're already exercising, then you know what's like the next best thing that you can do to get your life together. Or say you have goals or very specific goals, whether they're specific or just general. So nutrition, you guys are already doing that by doing this challenge. So we really want to focus on, most people aren't getting enough sleep and most people are not getting enough hydration. But we are going to cover those topics in the group. I just wanted to mention that those 4 things are key to like the bigger picture. So if you're like lacking one of those things in a major way and you're not seeing results, that might be why. You might want to take a look at getting a little bit more sleep. But we will have very specific like lessons and tools and stuff coming for sleep and hydration. So, and stress also. So stress is a big part. But I just wanted to mention that because it's very, very, very important in the bigger picture. Does that make sense? Also, so if you are, this will all kind of tie in. Someone asked, what's the formula for macros? You asked, what's the formula? I'll go over that. But this also kind of ties in. So your exercise, say you come to CrossFit an hour a day, okay? And then you sit at a desk all day. That means that your activity level is either average or below average. Okay, that's like the pay to play. That's the basic, yeah. So you're not really burning as many calories as you think you are in that 1 hour class. You're burning some. You know, you're getting a great workout. You're getting prepared for life and whatever life throws at you, and you're definitely fit. But if you're sitting at a desk the entire day, you're literally just burning nothing. There's no calories burned from that whatsoever. So the good news is there's things you can do to increase that, like 10,000 steps a day. So if you walking is really, really key. If you stand instead of sit, or if you get up every hour and take a lap around the office or the parking lot, if you park far away, as far away as you can, or take the steps, those things all sound kind of cliche, but they do make an impact and they add up throughout the day. So if you don't have like a activity tracker, that's okay, you don't necessarily need one, but it is very, very helpful in calculating your steps. Because you can see, okay, I only took like 3,000 steps today. So the goal is at least 10,000 for the average person. Some people take a lot more than that, some people a lot less. So I coach a few hours a day, and I walk my dogs like 2 times a day, and then I train a couple hours a day. So without the training, I average about 13,000 steps to 20,000 a day, depending on how much I'm working. If I'm coaching all day, that number is going to be higher because I'm on my feet all day. So that's just kind of an example. The steps don't come that easily. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to plan it out and take walks throughout the day, walk your dog, just stuff like that. So that's called the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Neat. That is where you're going to get more of your calorie burn in addition to your regular exercise. Does that make sense? I just kind of wanted to mention that. So that'll make more sense when I get to how I calculate your macros.
I know.
Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
So if you are here an hour a day and then you work in an office environment, could the other option be to adjust your macros down? Like if you can't, if you're physically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
That's the other option is
Yep.
to try to adjust your macros down.
Yep.
Say
So
you're 5,000.
your everyone's macros were calculated based on what your current activity level is. But say, for example, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm not getting anywhere. I have my macros. So that would be one way to kind of like increase your overall health and burn more calories and just,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. It does.
So moving on to the next topic. Actually, let me check all these. So consistency and compliance. That's a big one. So in getting results, okay, so say I'm like very, very specific results and I want to achieve them in a certain amount of time. Like I got 3 months and I want to weigh this much. Okay, your goal is going to be consistency 100% of the time. That's how you're going to get those results faster. Let me back up a little bit. So my approach to 90% of my clients is long-term sustainability. So you're not going to see like a quick drop in weight unless something crazy happens and you just lose weight really fast. So I try to get you to be able to eat as much as you can while still achieving results. For most of you, it's either body recomp or lose a little bit of weight or maintain muscle. It's pretty much the same for almost everyone in the group, so I'm going to speak on that. So to achieve those results at a steady, consistent pace, you're gonna need to be steady and consistent all the time, pretty much. If you're just someone that is like, I just, I'm in this for the long term, I wanna slowly, kind of steadily lose weight over time. I don't really care how much weight I lose. I just want to kind of lose some fat and maintain my muscle and be healthy. Then you're someone and that's most people, right? Most people don't need to be consistent and perfect 100% of the time. That's someone like me that's training for a comp, or like a bodybuilder that is, trying to drop weight very quickly, or someone preparing for something very specific, okay? So most people fall into the 80% category. So that's someone that is compliant 5 days a week, like really, really on target Monday through Friday. And then you have a couple meals on the weekend where either you don't track or you're not so perfect. And that is going to get you results. It's not going to impact your overall progress. So if you're consistent 80% of the time, and then say you have a couple drinks on the weekend, or you have your favorite food on the weekend, or a slice of pizza or something, that's okay. That is okay. So the goal is not to feel restricted, not to be starving, and not to deprive yourself of your favorite foods. That's the beauty of macros, because you can learn how to make those things kind of fit into your macros over time. So the reason why most diets don't work is because they're restrictive. You have to starve yourself. You're hungry all the time. All you can think about is that thing that you can't have, and eventually we're all going to give into that. It's willpower. You only have so much. So my approach to this is the way it is for that reason, because I want it to last long term. I want you to learn how to do this on your own. You're not always going to be able to say no to that food that you're craving all the time. And if you're doing it right, you should be able to have that food and make it fit into your macros without feeling guilty or ashamed, or there's no like good or bad foods. Like, yeah, some foods are healthier than others, but we try to remove the labels of like, that's a bad food, stay away from that food. You know what I mean? There's foods that you're gonna overeat, There's foods that you'll be able to eat in moderation. So that's kind of like why we categorize them into red light, yellow light, green light. So you know, like if I have this, I'll probably eat the whole bag. That's a red light food for me, right? So long-term sustainability, realistic. So if you come to me with a goal of like, I want to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, I'm like, I can't help you with that. That's not going to work. That's not what I do. So that's kind of a little background on why your macros were given to you the way they were. So consistency and compliance, the all or nothing mindset versus something is better than nothing. So a lot of us have that kind of all or nothing mindset because we do CrossFit and we're like all in or we're not going to do it at all, right? Or perfectionists. It's just common in general. So instead of looking at it like, okay, I messed up my macros today, I'm just gonna screw it. I'm not doing it anymore. Or like, I'm just gonna go crazy and eat the whole pint of ice cream because I already screwed up my macros for the day. Or I haven't tracked in 2 days, so I'm done. I'm just not gonna do this anymore because it's a wash for the last 2 days. So instead of approaching it like that, you try to approach it like the rule of thirds. Like something is better than nothing. So yeah, I messed up this morning. Let me try to get back to it my next meal. Or say, I messed up, like, I say messed up very loosely, but in your mind, you know, I didn't track it. I didn't track one meal. I have 2 meals left. Let's try to track the other 2. Or maybe you didn't track 2. Try to track the third one. Or you could break down your day into thirds or quarters. Say, okay, I know I have this event tonight. I know I have this big thing coming up. Let me try to do the best I can for breakfast and lunch. So make breakfast really, really healthy, lots of protein, limit my fat so that I can enjoy myself tonight. So just because one thing happens or that's a wash doesn't mean your whole day has to be thrown in the trash or like thrown out the window. Same thing with like whenever you're starting something new. So every time I do a nutrition group, I see slowly people just start to disappear. Like after the 4th week, I don't hear from anyone, right? So, and we'll get to that, but that's because it's a new thing. So you get all excited, you got this new thing starting, and then you're like on it for like a week. And then you miss a day, and then you miss another day, and then you just kind of slowly start to fall off, right? And then you just are like, I screwed this up. I'm done. I'll wait till the next one. I'm over it. If Steph texts me, I'm going to ignore her, you know? So that's like the most common thing. And in a group, it's easy to get lost in the group, right? So one-on-one is much different. You're not going to get lost. I'm going to hold you accountable. But a group is much different. It's kind of like you have to do the work. You have to hold yourself accountable, which can be tough. And it helps to have like an accountability partner or someone that knows what's going on. But going back to the rule of thirds, if you had a really good first week, and I'm talking to all the people that are going to watch this video, and then your second week wasn't so good, try to make your third week. Get back to it your third week. So just kind of to reiterate that, it's like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Something is better than nothing, even if it's just one thing you do that day. Or you know you're gonna have a tough day coming up. Just try to do the basics. Drink some water, eat some protein. So try to change that perspective and shift in mindset a little bit. If you're someone that kind of can relate to that and that can help you with sticking with it, especially after this short 5 weeks is over. So, but we'll talk kind of more about how to continue after that. And then the 80-20, 80% of the time is great. So if you have 21 meals a week, right? So that's 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. And you're good 17 meals, you're still gonna get results. Those 4 meals are not gonna impact your overall long-term success. They'll probably actually increase your compliance because you're getting food that you like, you're not feeling restricted, you're enjoying yourself, you're getting a little mental break from the tracking. So take those couple meals on the weekends. Enjoy your time out with friends and family. No one says you have to bring a scale to dinner unless you have very specific goals. Like, go out to eat, enjoy yourself, don't track, make good decisions. So yeah, that's the 80-20 rule, not the all or nothing. Do you guys have any questions about that? All right, let's talk about success and kind of what that entails after the group. So accountability is 95% of it. So and this is not a sales gimmick to sell you guys my nutrition coaching. I'm just telling you what works from my experience. So I am someone that I've had a nutrition coach for years. I think maybe I did my own macros for a long time, and then I didn't have the accountability piece. So I would just kind of make what I wanted work. Like, I want more carbs today, so I'm gonna give myself more carbs. Or like, I want more fat today, so, and I don't have to answer to anyone and no one's guiding me. So I'm just doing my own thing. When I calculate my own macros, I have a little bit of a bias, right? I'm like, I kind of, don't like those numbers that probably are gonna work, so I'm gonna tailor them to my needs. So I take all out of the picture, I hire a nutrition coach, and I have the accountability. I have the check-in, I tell my nutrition coach, hey, this is what's working. Also, just knowing that someone's checking in with you, they're gonna be looking, they're seeing, no one's makes me feel bad if I don't hit my macros. It's just, I know someone's watching, I know someone's seeing that, I know I have a guide, and I'm paying this person to do that. So it's a value to me. It's very important to me. So I'm paying someone, I'm gonna do it right. And again, I am not perfect all the time. And my nutrition coach doesn't say, you're a piece of shit because you didn't hit your macros. We just talk it out. We actually talk about much more than just macros. So kind of circling it back into lifestyle, we talk about, nutrition, how I'm feeling, sleep, hydration. So the reason I'm talking about that is the accountability piece. That's 95%. So if you don't have a nutrition coach, then having someone to help guide you, or even a partner, a friend that you're doing with, anyone that can help hold you accountable, will increase your success rate after this is over, or even now. Planning and prep. That's a huge, huge, huge piece of the puzzle as well. If you plan ahead, your week, your day, your weekend, your travel, your weekend away, all of that will help you be more successful once you get to that day. So you can prep and plan as much as possible to set yourself up for success. So there's this thing called decision fatigue. So we talk about it all the time. Don't go to the grocery store hungry. Why? Because you don't know what the hell you want, right? You probably don't have a list, you're starving, everything looks good, you're just gonna fill up your basket with a bunch of stuff. So if you go in with a list and well fed, your chances of sticking to the list are much, much higher, because you're not making starving decisions, right? You already know what you're getting. So tomorrow, today I'm gonna go into my Fitness Pal and I'm gonna make a plan for what I'm gonna eat tomorrow. Then tomorrow when I get hungry, I'm gonna look at it, there's my meal. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to decide right now. It's Monday, I have to make a million decisions today. So remove as many decisions as you possibly can about your nutrition, and then that will help set you up for success as well. Does that make sense? So the more decisions you can make ahead of time, the more successful you'll be. And then the last piece of that is building small habits over time. So again, kind of going back to the basics, you can't do everything all at once. And that's another great thing about a group and about having a guide, is kind of helping you figure out what's the biggest piece of the puzzle that we're missing right now. And then how can we make that attainable for you? What's one thing we can do this week to make that better or to improve? You can't do 5 things every day. You should never ever take on like 5 new habits every day, which is kind of what we all want to do at the beginning of a nutrition challenge. We just want to do everything, right? And then we end up it's too much. We can't stick to it. It's not realistic. So you just think about one thing at a time. For example, I have a really hard time drinking water throughout the day. I just don't drink enough water. So I I've been trying everything for months, for a long time actually. It's always something that is a huge, huge struggle for me. So try one thing, didn't really work. Tried another thing, didn't really work. So what I have done that has worked is as soon as I go downstairs to make my coffee, I pour myself a glass of water. While the coffee's being made, I chug a glass of water every single day. And I've done that. So my first week I did it, I missed the weekend. I didn't do it on the weekend. So I checked in with my nutrition coach and we're like, great job, you did 5 days out of the 7. So what do you think we can do next weekend to help you get that water in? So basically making a plan, identifying like where you missed an opportunity, doing one simple little thing helps me stay hydrated throughout the day. And it's really, really like silly and small, but that's kind of like the small things that you do to help build those habits. Another thing that is very helpful when building a new habit is putting it on top of another habit. So I wake up, I immediately brush my teeth and go downstairs. So immediately after I brush my teeth, I pour myself a glass of water and start the coffee machine. So it's like habit. I'm like half awake, I don't have to think about it. I'm just like walking around doing these things. So putting one habit, a new habit on top of another one, doing that for a week or 2 weeks or whatever until it's solidified and it becomes second nature can help with building those habits. Super, super helpful. I'm going strong for 3 weeks now. Saturdays and Sundays included. Someone asked about travel. I think it was, you asked about travel. So are you asking specifically about, I'll go over everything, but did you want to know about what I do specifically when I travel?
Just like what you do.
So when I travel, I make sure like a non-negotiable is it has to have a kitchen, like no matter what. Unless it's like, yeah, or Airbnb or whatever. So unless it's like a night, then that's not a big deal. But if it's gonna be like a week's vacation or even 3 or 4 days, they have to have a kitchen or a kitchenette. So fridge, microwave, and ideally like a sink and all the necessary stuff. And then when I get there, I try to do as much research as I possibly can ahead of time, like what's nearby. And then as soon as I get there, groceries. Like if delivery is available, that's great. If there's something nearby, that's even better. Get the groceries out of the way so I can just enjoy the rest of my trip. So breakfast and lunch primarily. So breakfast is super easy. I pretty much eat the same thing every day for breakfast. So I get myself my regular breakfast and then some lunch stuff. And then depending on where it's at and what I'm traveling for, say it's vacation or leisure, then I just go out to dinner and enjoy the local food and make like the best decisions I can. But I'm probably not gonna cook dinner every night when I'm on vacation. And I don't recommend doing that because you're on vacation. Sometimes I don't track. Like if I go to visit my brother in Montana and we're hiking the entire time, I'm not tracking. I'm just gonna, because it's impossible. It's like you don't have service half the time. You're hiking like these major day hikes and you have to eat like a lot of food. If I'm traveling for a competition, I'm sticking to my macros 100%. I got a detailed day by day, like hour by hour plan. But the biggest thing, like say you're flying, is hydration. You get very dehydrated on a plane. So drinking a lot of water and staying hydrated with electrolytes is important. And then also you can bring anything on a plane that isn't liquid. So I bring snacks for the plane, even if it's like a 2-hour plane ride, because you still have to be at the airport for 2 hours ahead of time. And then whatever else you're doing when you get there. So when you land, waiting for baggage and rental car, whatever. So even if it's a 2-hour flight, that could be 6 or 7 hours of travel time. So you need to have food, with you. So I always have food with me. I do like sandwiches. You can bring sandwiches. You can bring veggies. You can bring fruit. You can bring, like I said, anything that isn't liquid. Like I bring dried fruit, grapes, carrots, apples, applesauce protein bars, protein powder, because you can, you know, add water to that when you get past security or whatever. And I try like airport food is like 3 times the price of what you would pay, right? It's like insane. So there has been times where I'm like, I have to eat this. It's great. It's disgusting. And it's like, why am I paying $30 for rice and chicken? So like trying to avoid that at all costs, save money, and eat healthy. So trying to just plan and prepare so you don't get to the point where you're so hungry you have to grab something at the airport is very helpful. And then if you're traveling, so that's basically what I do. If you're traveling for leisure and you don't want to track, you can kind of approach it, or maybe you can't track. That happens too. You're going to be with a bunch of people on business and you have other priorities or whatever it is. There's a lot of different reasons we travel. Or something comes up at the last minute and you're not prepared at all. It's like an emergency situation. So do the best you can with what you have. So I know I'm not going to be able to cook. I'm not going to be able to go to the grocery store. So try to find like the healthiest option available nearby where you're going to be. Maybe that's a Chipotle. Like you can look at Chipotle and actually put it in MyFitnessPal and try to hit your macros that way. Or a lot of times around the holidays are like a big, celebration time. Even summer, like weekends, and could be a good strategy for weekends too. You just hit your calories. Say you need a break from macros and you've been tracking for a while and it's not happening because of whatever, the situation comes up. I have the holidays. A lot of times I switch my clients to just calorie focus because it's easier for them to manage. And you're not gonna necessarily get the same results as you would with macros, but it's better than nothing, right? It's better than just saying, fuck it, 3 months, it's Christmas, I'm just done for the season, right? So at least having like something to stick to is helpful. So calories, you can also go with a balanced plate method. So the balanced plate is like 1/3 protein, 1/3 veggies, 1/3 carbs. Like look at your plate divided into healthy options. Right, 1/3 veggies, yeah. She hates veggies, so.
Not happening over here.
Yeah, she's allergic to all vegetables. And then the other thing would be just to pick one macro, which would be your protein. So focus on your protein. Just get your protein in. And then kind of fill everything else with your calories with whatever you can. So those are like some flexible ways to strategize travel, holidays, social situations. Because the bottom line is like enjoy yourself. You don't want to be stuck to this rigid thing and it's making you miserable. You want to be able to enjoy yourself and be happy. And then, plan and prep as much as possible is kind of the golden rule. So do you guys have any questions about that topic at all? Moving right along, I want to talk about some common mistakes that I come across with a lot of clients. So you're tracking, or you think you're tracking and you're not getting your results. And you're using the macros I gave you. The first thing I'm going to ask you, are you tracking everything all the time? And we did talk about the 80-20% rule, but say you're like grabbing a handful of trail mix here and a handful of chips there and kids goldfish here. That adds up very, very quickly. So things that are not tracked, just be aware of. So if you're not seeing, say you're hitting your macros, but you're not tracking that handful of nuts, or you're eating the leftovers and you're not tracking that, all those things can add up very quickly and make you go over your calories by anywhere from 100 to 600 calories, even more depending on what you're doing. So just something to be aware of if that's something that you're running into. The other thing I come across is when people first start, when I do one-on-one nutrition coaching, this is very, very common in females. So I'm not eating I'm eating in a deficit, but I'm not losing weight. That's like the number one thing. You think you're eating in a deficit, but you're probably not. So what happens is I don't eat a lot throughout the day. I eat a small meal here, a small meal there. And then when I get home, I'm starving. So I eat basically everything in sight. But in your mind, you think you're not eating enough. Or I'm not saying you guys specifically, but in your mind, I'm not really eating that much. I should be losing weight. Why am I not losing weight? Because your calories are adding up because of all those things that you're eating when you get home because you starved yourself all day because you thought that was the right thing to do. So it's like super important to not only eat the amount of calories that I give you. Sometimes it can be, that's why I didn't give anyone their calories, because it can be kind of a mental challenge. So if I'm like, all right, these are your macros, you're actually eating 2,400 calories and you think you've been eating like 1,200, most people freak out and they're like, I can't ever eat that much food, I'm gonna gain weight. And then they start, I don't tell you how many calories you're eating, you get the macros and you're eating more, or you think you're eating more than you were before, and you lose weight. The reason why that is because you're probably more aware of what you're eating, you're tracking everything, and you're eating healthier foods. So you feel like you're eating more food, but you're technically eating more food, but it's not as calorie dense. So higher nutrients, higher quality, less calories than just shoving your face with stuff at the end of the day because you're starving. So that's kind of that explanation in a nutshell. It's a common thing I come across. Let's see what else. Sauces and oils. Those are a big source of fat if you're not tracking them. So just be something to be aware of. I'm not saying don't eat them, I'm just saying be aware of them. It doesn't hurt to measure them. Also, while we're on that topic, I forgot to bring my scale, but you guys all have scales. If you don't, that's okay, but if you do, okay, this is my scale. You know the tare button on the scale, T-A-R-E, or the reset button, right? Okay, so I have my scale, okay? This is my jar of peanut butter. I put my jar of peanut butter on the scale, or my olive oil, or my dressing. And then you hit tare. Reset the scale to zero the scale out. Okay, then I scoop out my peanut butter or my salad dressing or my olive oil. And that'll tell you the negative number, how much you took out, instead of having to scoop it out first or put too much dressing on. Does that make sense? I think that's been in the thing, but it's kind of a good tip for measuring your liquid stuff. So sauces, oil, peanut butter has an ungodly amount of fat in it. Love peanut butter, but you know, it's just you can only have so much, unfortunately. So those are just some things, some very common things that I come across that can help you guys with your tracking. Do you guys have any questions about that? Anything has come up? No? Okay. Moving right along, let's get into the kind of nitty-gritty and details. So macro formula. Lori asked, how do I calculate macros? So there is, first of all, macros are not an exact science. I can use one formula. There's like a bunch of different formulas. So we could all sit down, do one formula, and come up with 6 different numbers. So it's kind of based on experience. So when I first started doing macros and calculating macros, I wasn't as good as I am at it now. I'm much better at it now because I've done hundreds and hundreds of people's macros. And I take into, most of the time I know you. So I kind of know a little bit about you. That's why I ask all the questions on the assessment form that you filled out so I can get a better idea of all the things going on in your life. So even like sleep and stress will impact your macros. So basically what I do, I take all that information that you gave me in your assessment, I get a better picture of what's going on behind the scenes. I take into account your activity level, your non-exercise activity level, and then I come up with a number. That number is based on a formula based on your resting metabolic rate. So the numbers are 13 to 14 is below average activity level. And then it goes up from there. So we have below average, we have above average, and then we have like way above average. So below average is like no exercise, sitting all day. And that number kind of ranges between two numbers. And then we have average, which would be most of you. So we have 1 hour of CrossFit a day and sitting at a desk. That would be on the lower end of average. And then the higher end of average would be an hour of exercise, CrossFit or Black Ops or whatever. And then you walk the dog 3 times a day and maybe stand, or your job requires some movement. And then above average would be a longer training session, 2-a-days, or exercise and then you're on your feet all day, like a waitress or a physical therapist or someone that's doing more manual labor. And then beyond that would be someone like me that's on their feet all day and exercises 2 hours straight or something like that, like someone eating for performance. Or like you, Honor, who's training for a race. So you would kind of be on the, you're doing CrossFit and running every day, so that's on the higher end of that average to above average. So I take that number, and that's how I get your maintenance calories. I multiply that by your weight, by your current body weight. So number times body weight. Then I get your total calories. So your total calories at that number would be what you would require to maintain. And again, this is not an exact science. And that number, if I told you what that number was, your jaw would drop. So I usually shoot low because most people aren't eating enough of the right portions. So what I do is I try to get you there first, see where we're at, kind of test the waters a little bit, and then we have some wiggle room. So I get this number. That's your total calories to maintain your current weight. After that, we say, okay, this person wants to lose this amount of body weight, or this one wants to maintain but build muscle, or whatever your goal is. Based on your goal, I create a goal number for you. So that would be, for most people, a deficit. If it's a gain, I would add calories. So the deficit could be a small, if it's a body recomp, it's usually like 10 to 15% deficit. If it's more significant than that, it could be anywhere from like 20 to 30%. Anything past that is usually not sustainable. You're gonna be very, very hungry. So unless it's like a drastic cut or something, I try not to go into that past 30%. So then I have your goal weight calories after that deficit. So times deficit percentage is your goal weight calories. So I take that number. First thing I do is calculate your protein. So your protein is going to be anywhere from 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per goal body weight, not your current body weight. So that's where I come up with a protein number. Sometimes it's usually like lower for females, higher for males, but that's not always the case. You're also going to be, I like to really give a lot more protein because you're going to be much more satiated with protein. So a lot of protein will get you, for most people that are training the way we do, you need more protein than someone that's not really training with weights. So we want to build and maintain that muscle. After I get your protein, so protein is 4 grams. I'm sorry, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So I multiply that number times 4. So 140 grams of protein times 4, I have that amount of calories. Okay, and then I do your fat. So your fat is gonna be, like I said, oh no, I didn't say that actually. So for guys, it's lower. you can survive on less fat. So it's anywhere from like 15 to 30% of your total calories is your fat, based on your goal. Some people it's higher, some people it's lower. I couldn't tell you. I don't have a standard for everyone. It's specifically based on your goal, just like every single macronutrient is. So then 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So I get that number, multiply that by 9. I add protein and fat calories together, and then I have a number left over. That's your carbs. So carbs are 4 calories for 1 gram, just like protein. So protein and carbs, 1 gram equals 4 calories. Fat is 9, okay? So that's how I get your macro breakdown, give or take. So that's how I start. So basically starting with that formula, and then I tweak it based on my methodology, which I can't explain because it's in my head. It's kind of like, I know you and I know your body type. Some people need more carbs than others. Some people need less carbs than others. So if you have a bigger body and you're someone that doesn't tolerate carbs well, I'm not going to give you probably that many carbs. Also, some of the numbers are astronomical, and you'll see them, and I know, I'm like, they're not going to be able to eat this many carbs at first. So I'm going to give you this to start with. We're going to see how that goes and build upon that. So there's always, I really like to start out lower, on the lower end, and kind of build upon that and give you some wiggle room. Because if you start with this like astronomical number and you feel overwhelmed and you're like, I'm just struggling, I'm bloated because I've never eaten this many carbs in my life, it can be, I've learned through experience, it's better to start off lower than higher. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, and I sent you all the formulas so you can play around with those if you want. If anybody else wants that, I have 3 formulas that you can do yourself if you're interested. But like I said, it's all going to come out different. It's very interesting, so you can kind of compare that with mine if you wanted to. So that is the macro breakdown and my macro formula. And then we have all the different goals. So we have performance-based, we have training-specific, there's maintenance, there's calorie deficit, and there's a mass build, and then there's body recomp. So all of those factors, based on your goal, I use that as well. So there's kind of a lot that goes into it. That's why it's like, it's really hard to do yourself. Very, very hard. I tried to do it for a long time and I wasn't really getting anywhere with it. Do you guys have any questions about that? All right. Let's see, Alexis asked about specific ratios, right? Or like protein and carbs,
Yeah,
like what to
just,
do.
Well, like if you're like I find sometimes at the end of the day, like I'll meet one and like
And you have
2
stuff
of them
left.
are like left or 1 is left, and I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do with that. Like, you know what I mean?
So basically, the question is how to, if you just have like protein left or if you just have carbs left at the end of the day, how do you hit that? So for most people, you're not gonna have any fat left. That's like the case for most people. Some of us have fat left, and the easy answer for that is drink some olive oil. No, I'm just kidding. Or have some peanut butter. So protein and carbs. So I kind of made a little list of these separate macros to help you out a little bit, and then you can kind of combine the two. And I can I'll actually send something out for you guys, like a quick little cheat sheet of how to hit certain combinations. Some ideas for that. So protein, if you just have protein left, that sucks because you just don't want to eat chicken, right? But you might have to. So some kind of ways to get over that, or to add it into your food throughout the day so you don't have so much protein left. So putting egg whites into things can help. There's no fat in egg whites and they're pretty tasteless. So you throw that into something you're cooking. Obviously don't have them raw. I mean, you can, but it's pretty nasty. But say you have eggs in the morning, you have scrambled eggs. Throw in some egg whites. Throw in some extra egg whites. That'll boost your protein. if you're having rice and you like are sauteing some rice with some veggies, throw in some egg whites. Saute the egg whites in there. So that's something that'll give you a little added boost of protein if you need some. Lunch meat, like deli meat, you can snack on that pretty regularly as long as it's, you know, not the Oscar Mayer salami. That's pretty nasty. Like if you get the higher quality, like actual deli meat, it's not too bad. I recommend like the chicken or the higher quality turkey, not just the stuff you get in the package. If you're on the go though, that could be an option for sure. Like if you just have to, if you need protein and that's all you got, it's better than nothing. So deli meat, boneless, skinless chicken breast. I try to always have that on hand. So my go-to for protein is chicken. I eat it a lot, almost every meal. I have crock pot chicken in the fridge at all times. So I throw chicken, boneless, skinless chicken breast, either frozen or thawed, in a crock pot with either salsa or some other kind of marinade, some low-fat marinade. Salsa is great because it has no fat in it. It's very, very low calorie, and it goes with almost anything. So you throw that in a crock pot. If it's not cooked 4 hours, or if it's not frozen 4 hours, if it's frozen, you can do 8 hours. Just let it simmer on low. You can do it overnight, and then you have like a week's worth of chicken for, you know, any meal. And you can kind of snack on that. I've snacked on that if I need some extra protein. And you can put, you know, shred it up, put it in a container. And the options of what to do with that are kind of limitless. You can throw it on tacos, you can put it on rice, you can make a rice bowl, you can have it with a meal. So it's just something great to have on hand that is very easily accessible, ready for you at all times. Cottage cheese, not a fan. I don't eat it, but high protein. A lot of people love it. Can add it to things. You're a fan?
Oh, big time.
Yeah, a lot of people
Well,
are.
I thought
So.
it had too much fat.
If you get the lower fat one, it has a good amount of protein. I think there's some with no fat. Like I don't dabble in cottage cheese at all, so that's just a recommendation. There's some yogurts that have some higher protein. Jerky, beef jerky, you just gotta watch out for the sodium in the beef jerky. Yeah, the ingredients, there's some really good jerkies, like Epic is really good. Very clean ingredients. There's some that you just don't wanna mess with, like the Slim Jims. Not that kind of jerky. So the less ingredients, the better on stuff like that. But that's something like you go to a gas station these days, they actually probably have a good option. It's kind of cool. Like a lot of places have the Epic, like at a Wawa or something, so you could grab that. And even while we're on that topic, Wawa actually, like if that's your only option, you go create like a meal from there, you can do pretty well. Like they have, you know, just the basics, like a chicken bowl or something like that. So, and you can track that pretty easily. So kind of went off topic there, but, and then protein bars and shakes. There's some really good options for protein bars. There's a million options of protein bars out there. If you guys have any questions about that, you just want to watch out for the ingredients and the sugars. So some of them have more fat than protein and they shouldn't be called a protein bar. So just watch out for that. You want to look at the fat. There's carbs in all of them, which is fine, but it's really the fat that'll add up. And then carbs. So say you have carbs left over and you don't know what to do because all of your potato chips that are carbs have fat in them. You can't have those. So fruit, grapes, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, berries, watermelon, cantaloupe, melon, eat your heart out. Those are all carbs, no fat, very little protein. So you can eat a lot of that. Watermelons are really one of my favorites, and it's coming in season. So that's a great way to boost your carbs. And then some combinations for, say you just have protein and carbs, no fat or very little fat. Like a rice and tuna bowl. So ahi tuna or even chicken with some rice, and a salsa is my go-to when I need something like to top a bowl with. Very low fat, if any fat. Most salsas don't have any fat and very little carbs. You could do rice cakes and deli meat. We were just talking about that. They have some really great options of rice cakes that don't taste like crap. And if you're someone that wants like salty or like crunchy, tomato basil rice cakes, everything rice cakes, ranch rice cakes, what was the other one? Cheddar rice cakes, like smart, kind of tastes like smart food. And then they also have some sweet ones like apple cinnamon and chocolate. So those are very low calorie and carbs, good carbs. Veggie burger, so that's not gonna be like a massive amount of protein. Some are more than others, but that would be, I know you're all about those, right? Veggie burgers. That would be an option for protein and carbs. And then beans. Beans are a perfect combination of protein and carbs. Beans and lentils, very high protein, good carbs. And protein shake with fruit would also be a good option, like a protein shake and a banana or something like that, and some strawberries for that combo. So that is everything that I have prepared. I think I answered all your questions. What do you guys got for me?
White rice or brown rice, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Irrelevant.
Whatever you like.
Protein powders was the yellow.
Because it's not a whole food. And it's, so all the green light foods are gonna be pretty much minimally processed whole foods.
Yeah.
But you can still have, so you bring up a really good point. Protein powder is a good supplement. So if you're not able to get all your protein in, but if you can get all your protein in, that would be kind of like a last resort. Not necessarily, it's not bad, but it would be to supplement your current protein intake. And you don't want to be having like 5 protein shakes a day.
Well, yeah, so for breakfast we have 24 grams of protein powder mixed in with our oatmeal.
Yeah, that's great.
And then it, just for me to try to hit my protein, I started drinking like try to get a protein shake in every day.
Yeah,
I can
that's
feel that
great.
protein, you know, knock that out with all protein powder, but that's not.
No, that's not the goal.
Yeah,
You would want to do it with as much whole foods as possible. And then, yeah, you could add in a couple protein shakes a day. No problem.
Yeah, I just saw that was yellow, so that was one of the questions.
Yeah, that would be like in moderation.
Yeah.
So, yep.
And then protein bars, you say, I see a lot of them, they're really high in sugar, almost like a
Exactly,
candy bar.
yes. They are a candy bar, pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. Pretty much.
Should you be concerned about, so if you go through the macros, I'm using the Life, whatever it is, Life Fitness or something, they also have, you know, the amount of cholesterol, sugars, the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Should you be monitoring them as well? Because I go over my cholesterol limit.
That I would not, no,
Okay.
because, and the reason why is because it's just too much. Like first you want to get the basics down before you add on all that other stuff. Eventually you could, so if you're someone that has high cholesterol, that would be, but naturally as you do this and you start to become more aware of what you're eating, you limit your processed foods. I've found that most people, all their cholesterol problems, high blood pressure problems go away over time. But to answer your question, no, you should not be doing that. Don't worry about that until you've mastered your macros, basically, because you don't want to be, that's like adding in like an expert level to a beginner. So you don't want to get too overwhelmed too soon.
My cholesterol went down a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Like 100 points.
And Mike, yeah.
And like, yeah.
So yeah, there's been people that just kind of like got off all medications. Like they were
Yeah.
on blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication. After, you know, a couple months of just paying attention and dialing in nutrition, you don't need that stuff anymore. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm right borderline.
Yeah.
So, and I manage it through my diet.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I don't
great.
eat red meat or anything.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
limit it. But I'm always very conscious of my cholesterol, and that's the one thing I've noticed is my, you know, on that one counter, they've got cholesterol, so that
And it
always
could
is kind of
be-
a red flag. But I think about it, and it's eggs, it's chicken,
Yeah.
that's where you're.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's really okay. And that number is generic, I think. I'm pretty sure it's generic, so it's not necessarily your specific
Yeah.
personalized goal for cholesterol. So that number might not really mean anything
Yeah.
to you. I do remember you asked about performance. I don't know why I didn't go over that, but I can go over that. So, when we have specific performance goals, like Honor asked about how to eat when you're training, like she's training for a marathon. So how to eat and how to increase your intake and what does that look like? So it depends. That's kind of why I didn't address it, because it's very individualized. Yeah, but we could talk about it, but it also pertains to anyone that has those kind of goals. And that's something like one-on-one you would benefit from. But kind of in a nutshell, if you're training for something for performance, you want to perform well, you do not want to be in a calorie deficit. You want to be either at maintenance or a surplus. And then there's kind of a specific way that you would increase before that race or that workout, depending on how long it is, how intense it is, and how much work you have to do. So there is no like generic broad answer. That's kind of why I didn't really put it on the board. It's very individual and specific to the event. Like when we do the open, everybody thinks you just like start eating all the carbs, and that's not necessarily the case. It's like you don't really just have an extra apple or something, or like an extra banana the day of. Make sure you're fueled, but that doesn't mean like the open's 3 weeks. That doesn't mean eat pasta every night for those 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So if you are training for a marathon and you're running, 40 miles a week, then you would need a lot more carbs. So you would want to increase your calories for something like that. So it's just two different kind of ends of the spectrum on the level of exercise that you're doing and what your goals are.
You said I should eat. You said, did you eat anything? I ran before class
Mhm.
and I died.
Mhm.
So the next day I ran and I ate protein because I just always thought that I couldn't eat. I would get sick.
Mhm.
So I ate a protein bar and like one of those.
Applesauce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a pack.
And you crushed it.
And I felt great.
Yes.
So I was like,
Because you
oh.
refueled. You have to
But
refuel.
I didn't know
Yes.
this. Like I just didn't.
And that also, so fueling for performance, I did send out a card about that, but it's really important to eat the right things. Like you bring up a good point, you don't want to get sick. So you don't want things that are going to sit in your stomach. So if you have to eat like right before a workout or something like that, you want something that's going to digest quickly. So that's why you see people having like gummy bears or something like that. So you could have like an orange, like a clementine, or like that's gonna digest very fast. Something that's not going to bother your stomach and sit around and slosh around in your stomach. So like applesauce, stuff like that. Stuff that's a banana. Oranges, fruit is very, very easily digestible except for apples. Those just have more fiber in them, so those aren't going to digest as quickly because you gotta
Like a
chew them
softer
up
fruit.
and like, what's that?
Like a softer fruit.
Yes, yeah.
What about pasta? I mean,
I love
is that-
pasta.
Do you eat a lot of it?
I require a lot more carbs than the average person, so I don't eat a lot of it. I do eat it maybe I like the cauliflower gnocchi from Trader Joe's. It's my go-to. I mean, it's not technically pasta, but it's freaking delicious. I mean, it has the same amount of carbs as pasta. So I usually eat that like once a week.
Pasta wise, you could go Banza.
Yes, yeah, chickpea pasta.
Yeah, I don't
Yep.
see that anymore.
Yes, yeah.
Pretty good too.
It's very good.
Yeah, that's probably the best tasting one that I've had. That is the chickpea. Yes, some of them are. Yeah.
This might not articulate this correctly, and it might be more like moving to one-on-one because I'm sure over 6 weeks like this probably doesn't come into play yet. But since your macros are all based on like a body weight that you're trying to move away from, you have to adjust those macros then at some point. Like at some point you're not gonna see
Yes.
progress anymore.
Yes.
And I guess who spots that, right? Like how do you know when
Yes.
you're plateauing and do you spot it? Am I supposed to I don't know.
Perfect segue.
That's really
Let's
good.
get. That's a great question. So the question is, how do you adjust your macros based on your goals? And when do you do that? So that is, also, it depends on what your goals are, how long you've been doing this, how consistent you are, how compliant you are. The general rule of thumb is to be in a deficit no longer than 3 months at a time. And then you would kind of go into a maintenance phase and then reassess and then go back into a deficit. That way you're not just constantly you're not staying in a deficit too long and your body is adapting to new calories. So you kind of want to give your body a break from that deficit. Give it a chance to adapt and then move into another deficit if you need to. When you're in a deficit, you can kind of start to, like after 3 months, I like to, reassess your goals anyway. So a lot of people have already hit their target and they get greedy and they want to lose more. And to what cost? That's kind of why I sent you guys that card about like the cost of being lean and how bad do you want, maybe you want a 6-pack, maybe you want to be at 10% body fat, but that comes at a huge sacrifice. So, most of us don't ever need to be that lean, and if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, then why? What's the point? So that's just kind of something to think about. But to get back to your question, so you can do that yourself, but it's very, very tricky if you're not, if you don't have the education and the experience. I feel like the experience is even more key to the macros than the education. Like you learn about macros, but then it's really all about just learning from clients of what works and what doesn't. So after this group, if anybody does want to continue on, I'm offering everyone $65 off. And again, this isn't like a marketing scheme to get you guys to continue on. Like, I'm happy to answer your questions and help you pass this. If you don't need that, that's fine. It's not like you can't come up to me and ask me a question after this is over. I'm happy to help. But if you do want to continue on, the benefits of nutrition coaching, at least for a couple months, just to kind of dial it in and stay with it and learn like what you need to continue doing and have that accountability. There's huge benefits to that. And if you do have goals, like a very specific amount of body fat, or if you have training goals, performance goals, then you kind of do need a guide. It's kind of necessary unless you can do it on your own somehow. So it would be $100 a month to work with me after this. So it's $65 off what I charge normally. And that price just stands for as long as you want to continue on. So with one-on-one nutrition coaching, you get continued access to the app and all the resources, but you get a weekly check-in, pretty much unlimited access to me through the app. You can text me whenever on the app, and I get back to you usually from 9 to 5. I'm pretty responsive. So we text through the app, we do a weekly check-in, a very detailed check-in. I monitor your progress every week through whatever your goals. Most people it's weight loss, but we check on your weight loss every single week, and we tailor your macros to make sure we're tracking towards your goals. So I monitor your progress based on your consistency and help you get more consistent. So basically, if you have a question like, Steph, I have 10 grams of carbs left, how do I hit that? Then I would tell you, like, that's the stuff you get with working with me one-on-one, and a lot more. And then if you have like a race coming up or a competition, I would give you a detailed plan for that day. Like, this is what you need to be eating that day, this is what you need to eat the day before, this is what you need to do 2 weeks out. So that's also a benefit to it.
Steph, are we doing the in-body again?
Yes, yeah, you guys can do, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can redo the in-body. So accountability, macro adjustments, specific recommendations based on your week-to-week progress, check-ins, Lifestyle goals, so it's not, we don't just talk about nutrition. I end up being a therapist and a psychologist and a shrink to most people, which is totally fine with me. The more I get to know you, the better. And I also I like talking to people in person more than through the check-in. So luckily, I get to see most of you at the gym when we talk about it. But if that's not an option, we can always schedule a call or like a FaceTime or something, or even a meetup. And then you asked the question about the phases. We would go through the phases, the deficit, the maintenance, etc. So that would be the one-on-one benefits. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions?
Do you recommend, I know somebody replied back and said that they actually do like a menu for themselves and put in what they're gonna eat, but do you do that? Do you have like Monday through Friday, here's what I'm gonna eat this week, I've got the ingredients, I've prepped it?
No. Because I am not a chef. I'm not very good at, I don't consider myself very good at cooking, and I don't do recipes like I used to, and it was just, I would spend like 8 hours on a Sunday doing recipes, and I only have one oven. It was just too much. And I have it down to the point where I can just kind of recycle the same things, and I know what I'm eating every day. So, like I said, I live on chicken, and I cycle through like chicken, rice, cauliflower gnocchi, sweet potatoes, couscous. So I kind of have these things in the same amounts, and I've been doing it for so long, and I just kind of stick to those ingredients, and then I have my fruits and my breakfast and stuff. But as far as recipes and stuff, it's too complicated for me. I like to keep it simple.
What's your breakfast?
My breakfast every day right now is a protein shake, 2 kinds of protein, and waffles. I have waffles and protein
What do
shake.
you put on the waffles?
Nothing. Kodiak cake waffles. They have some protein in them. And sometimes I do, I go through phases, so I'll do I got sick of overnight oats, but I have a really great overnight oats recipe, and that's a decent amount of protein, and it keeps you full, all morning. But I just get sick of it after a while, so I rotate between that. Sometimes I'll do bagels. Sometimes I'll do, I can't remember what the other. Right now it's Kodiak cakes, bagels, and overnight oats that I rotate in the protein shakes. And it depends on how much time you have in the morning and all that good stuff.
I was the one that you're referencing to.
Oh, I like that idea.
Basically, and not to say that I do have recipes that I cook on a regular basis, so like a shepherd's pie that.
Ooh, love a
that,
shepherd's pie.
You could change out the beef for chicken or turkey.
Yes. Yep.
And since it doesn't have a crust, the potatoes on the crust.